and thanks for joining us. I'm Aisha Morales. We have a first alert update. A Green Bay police officer who is facing criminal charges appeared in court this morning. Officer Matthew Knutson is charged with misconduct in public office and negligent operation of a vehicle for using his squad car to allegedly knock down a man who was running from police in November of 2021. He was charged last month after the district attorney's office learned about this. Today, Knutson's attorney filing a motion to dismiss the charges, stating in the motion that the criminal complaint is not sufficient enough to establish probable cause. A decision on that motion itself is scheduled to be made early in July. We'll get to